All right, mic check, mic check. Looks like we're just about to rock and roll here. We'll get rid of that for now. And I don't know why the camera doesn't want to work, but it should be good now. Here we are. What is up? Hope everyone's doing well. Got the GameStop shirt on today, sweatshirt. Let's go. Yeah, not my usual spot, but let me actually get to my desk. As per usual, just on the go, kind of doing a lot of different stuff. But Ryan, see you in the chat right there. Thanks for being here. Slapping after work. Yes, sir. Thanks for being here for real. And yeah, speaking of work, my job's been much busier, so I've really been grinding there. I'm trying to like move up and whatnot and just do more. So it's just taking more of my time mentally. And it's not going to change anything with YouTube, but I just feel like I'm at a spot now where I'm like, all right, I have some like a path of where I want to go in like my career a little bit for the time being, like not like super long term, but just some ways to work up and move forwards. And yeah, I just stepped on the cord there like a bozo. But let's get to where we need to be. I'll be taking you guys on a tour today. No, I'm just playing. We're just getting situated. Walking through the crib. You want to see the creepiest thing ever? Let's see. Tell me this ain't the most real looking cat ever. It looks even more real in person. It's really scary, actually. But not mine. Okay. Yeah, so gonna go over some stuff today, just in regards to the earnings report. And not the best lighting. Again, not my usual spot, but we're chilling. As long as we're streaming, like we're rocking and rolling, right? And just always about pushing forwards. And something I definitely want to do in the very near future is acquire a new laptop from GameStop, of course. I just got to do some research and just make sure it's definitely what I want to do. And just when I do it, I'll just get everything organized on the new laptop because, excuse me, it's so easy, right, to just dump things in files. And I know I can't be the only one that's done it, and I've just done it for years since college. Of just everything's all over the place on my computers, both my like Windows 7 desktop and this laptop. So my point is like everything's all over. It's hard to keep things in order. So really I'm trying to stay like organized, right, with my files and like everything I'm building with Tetron and stuff that I can like use as material consistently and over time and like keep improving. And one of the first things I'll talk about, or a couple of things I'll talk about, I have a Twitter thread, or not thread, now I'm writing long form posts. It seems to have hit better. Appreciate all the love on this post, just kind of highlighting the cash equivalents, marketable securities of GameStop, pretty much how much cash they have per share, and just the fact that their balance sheet is really strong, despite whatever the mainstream media is going to say, right? So be it. Which, by the way, if you haven't heard, apparently Bed Bath & Beyond is going to stop trading on September 30th, right? BBBYQ. So this super secret triple quadra mega merger with Carl Icahn and whatever story, right? Can this nonsense finally stop, right? And no disrespect to any individual, but it's just unfortunate that, and this is my opinion, right? Let me be very clear that and even right here, BBY Q 8K, and there's like, oh, this line right here means Ryan Cohen's about to come in and save the day, and like this idea of individuals that really like Ryan Cohen has been like weaponized, in my opinion. And on top of it, it's the idea that people are frustrated and understand the market mechanics and how the system really works in some ways. And it's like, wow, that's really how it works. And then they spin this narrative of we have to fight back against the short sellers. We got to get back at the financial system, right? And it's a non-legitimate company, right? In terms of improving and just moving forwards. Like they literally filed bankruptcy. They already sold off Bye Bye Baby's name and Bed Bath & Beyond's name. Overstock.com literally rebranded to Bed Bath & Beyond. And still it's this super secret mega quadra super merger of insanity of the secret stalking horse, but whatever. The point is, there's going to be a new narrative at some point or another, right? AMC's story's been dying. It continues to die. There's still the people there. So I guess my point with saying all this is just beware the next GameStop, quote unquote, right? Just how AMC's the next GameStop and Bed Bath's the next GameStop. There's been all these next GameStops, right? And that's why I always joke around and say the next GameStop is GME. That's what my sources are telling me, right? But point being, be mindful that there's going to be some new, oh, this is the next big thing, or oh my God, this is what everybody's doing, right? I'm telling you, it's coming. I truly believe that. And what it's going to look like, what the name is going to be, I couldn't tell you. And I think it's going to be more unique this time, right? Because the same play, GME and AMC, to me, that's still being pushed hard by the director for Ben, whatever his name is, that's involved with Dumb Money. And that, you can only push that so far, right? And then after the movie, I don't think people, like the people who watch the movie might associate it. But the point being, there's gonna be something else, and it can't be a situation where Ryan Cohen's also invested in it, right? There's not another small name like they were able to weaponize BBBYQ because of his previous ownership. So just be mindful of like everything you see, and just really like do your research and due diligence, right? And of course, there's going to be people who continue to hate on GameStop and say, it's going bankrupt. Like I literally have this one guy, Adam. Like I must literally live rent free in his head. He commented on this one too, but he comments on like everything I do. Like it's crazy. I'm like, damn, I can't imagine. Like I actually feel bad, right? That his life he has nothing better to do than just be constantly commenting nonsense on my posts. And like evidently he doesn't actually know what's going on with GameStop. But like regardless, just do your research. Like take your time to really read things and understand that there's so much like mental games and psychological tricks being like played, in my opinion, right? In my opinion, you're more than welcome to disagree. And I realize I actually don't have the normal tablet I use on the side for the chat, so I do have to pull that up. But we're gonna go through this tweet, and then I also have a new tweet I'm putting together, and I put together an infographic. So I want to kind of go through that briefly, but let me just hit the chat real quick. Let's go. Ryan, Zal, thanks for being here. Good to see you guys. Fresh Maker. Oh, there it is. The never too late guy. Fresh Maker. My bad, man. My bad. I know I've been better, but today I slacked. Not going to lie. Lesser, Devon, thanks for being here. Jay, what up? GME is the new GME. Always has been. I couldn't agree more. If you told me there's a company with zero debt, lots of cash, insider buys, improving balance sheet, I'd be all over it. Same, Ryan, same. Calvin, hey. Good to see you, Calvin. Thanks for popping in. There will be GameStop movies and a long saga moving forwards. Exactly, Jay. I think there'll be more movies. And also, just think about this, too, right? If you just step back, how many different GameStop movies have there been? And you don't just write about something like, I don't know, I find that a little suspicious. Like, then again, it is an interesting story in itself, just what happened in January 2021 and leading up to it. And even if you're not following the stock now, like, I understand why, like, there's interest in writing about it anyway. But, there's always, like, this is just disregarding the things behind the scenes. So it's still, like, there's a lot of movies because it genuinely is interesting. Like, I do believe that. But at the same time, it's like, why is there so many movies? You know what I mean? Like, but whatever. We don't have to get into all that. And, with PP Seeds, like, we'll see what he's going to grift next. And I hate to say this, but Pulte is just doing it for Pulte Holmes. Like, I really think that he seems to be promoting that a lot, and I really like the idea of him being in GameStop, and it just seemed weird, and now it all makes sense, right? Like, how can you be like donating to PP Seeds and saying like, oh yeah, like we're gonna make money when I'm not even gonna go on and on about this. This has been talked about enough. If you're still in Bed Bath, like please watch some Morant's videos. He really, really will show you. Like, you might not like what he says, but you may need to hear it. Whatever. We're moving on. But it's a crazy saga. And my point with just bringing this up is that there's going to be something else, right? There always is. There's always a new, oh, this is the big thing or that's the big thing, right? Whatever it may be, just be mindful of all things. And yeah, let's move on. Enough of that. So this is my post, and again, I really appreciate all the love around it, and I really want to continue to write more on Twitter because I do think the platform's evolving, and there's more potential, to just put information out. And I've always kind of wanted to write stuff, and it seems like a good place to do it. And then also, having my thoughts written out, it's easier to build upon them when I'm doing a stream or a video. So, I'm just really trying to, just like GameStop, I talk about them vertically aligning everything. I'm trying to vertically align Tetron for like what I want to talk about, how I want to operate and whatnot. But all part of the journey, right? All part of the journey. So started off just talking about, GameStop's balance sheet is what gives them the opportunity to focus on the long term, because the narrative is constantly from the mainstream media, oh, GameStop's going to go bankrupt, right? And then they say, oh, GameStop's going bankrupt by the end of 22, oh, by the end of 23, oh, now by the end of 2025, oh, GameStop bankrupt by the end of the decade, right? That Wedbush clown, whatever his name is, that replied to here, Michael Patcher, like, he always moves the goalposts back, right, of when it's going to go going to go bankrupt, which to me is just comical. But that's fine, right? I'll just focus on the company, let the haters say what they're going to say. And if you look at the current cash pile, it's almost 1.2 billion of combined marketable securities, cash equivalents. I've said this many times, but I want to say it one more. So marketable securities, since they're under current assets on the balance sheet, by definition, that means it's within a 1 year period, right? So it's maturing, the marketable securities, within a 1 year period. But you might be, okay, well, what's a cash equivalent? A cash equivalent is something that matures in 3 months or less by definition. So marketable securities are maturing between 3 to 12 months from now. And you're like, okay, well, what are these marketable securities? It is specifically highlighted in GameStop's sorry, not form, 10Q. So cash equivalents consist of U.S. government bonds and notes, money market funds, cash deposits with commercial banks, aka CDs, and highly rated directed short-term instruments that mature in 90 days or less. So again, less than 3 months maturity time, and just government bonds, money market funds. Money market's essentially just a high yield savings. Like when you have your money in Fidelity and you can earn 5% on there right now, just in the cash when you're not doing anything. That's a money market fund, right? And then marketable securities are made up of highly rated short term government bonds and notes, as well as time deposits that mature in less than 1 year. And as I understand it, time deposits, let's see, and this is just previous research I was doing. Definition. Forgot off the top of my head, but pretty much as I was reading it just sounds very similar to like a CD, also known as certificate of deposits. Okay. Gotcha. Which ideally, they're doing certificate deposits with large banks, because if you are doing over 250,000, not as FDIC insured, right? But all in all, the balance sheet's strong, because if you take the 304.8 million shares outstanding and you divide this full amount of cash equivalents and marketable securities. I include marketable securities because I don't see them in a situation where they would have to quickly cash those out, and those will mature being worth more, and that'll be recognized in the cash flow statement. Like if you look at the cash flow, you'll see maturity of marketable securities, maturities slash proceeds from marketable securities, and then you also see purchases of marketable securities. So from what I understand, you're purchasing at the price prior, and then what it matures at, like that difference is the difference on the cash flow statement. The little details on that I have to fully understand, but what I can definitely tell you is the cash equivalents, where you're actually getting those interest payments, are being recognized here, right? It's under the actual statement of operations because it is still income. So just little things you have to kind of understand over time. And even myself, I'm understanding them over time. But you can see the difference that interest rates are making. It's allowing them to continue to accumulate more cash. But an important thing I highlight in this post is that, what I say next here, with a strong balance sheet, success hinges on execution and improvement for GameStop. So, a lot of the dismissal from the bears comes from the fact like, oh, you keep saying GameStop has a great balance sheet. They have all this cash, right? That's what people will say that are bearish to the bulls. But it doesn't matter. They're not turning a profit. They're not improving the business. And to me, that's where they're wrong. I really think they're evolving and improving and pushing forwards under Ryan Cohen, right? As I put here. And there are still challenges ahead, but being profitable is evidently a priority. It's literally in their business priorities on the Q1 report. Same with Q2, it was in there as well. So it's what they're focusing on, and part of it's through cutting costs through SG&A. Part of it's through focusing on selling higher margin items, and just margins as a whole. Because if you saw Larry Chang's recent tweet, he essentially tweeted something about margins being more important than growing revenue. So I see that as maybe an indication of GameStop, not necessarily, but I do see GameStop focusing on their margins, right? Because if you look at this report versus the last, and this is the 13 weeks, no, this is 26. Where are we here? Sales mix. This is something else I want to break down in the future, and then definitely by region. So if you look at SG&A improvement, that's something I'm going to get to next. Where was it? Ah, damn it. Totally lost my train of thought there. Inventories I had highlighted. Oh, yes. Okay, this is what it was. So focus on margins. Look at cost of sales percentage of total net sales, right? So net sales is just revenue. So the cost of sales percentage wise went down, meaning the gross margin went higher, right? Gross margin was 26.3% versus 24.8% the same quarter of last year. And now that's not what I was trying to do. I'll get rid of that, but whatever. Net margins, right? You have right down here. So, or yes, because it's percentage. So net margin essentially went from 9.5 negative 9.5%, or sorry, negative 9.6 if you go down after everything, interest income, income tax, everything. They had a negative 9.6% net profit margin. Now the net profit margin is zero point 0.2 negative percent. So that's a massive swing, and that's despite only very slight increase in revenue. And what I've seen, shout out to White Rabbit 741 on Twitter. He wrote about this today. It's what kind of just sparked the thought. And it's been said before. He's not the first to say it, but he brought up some good points. And he was saying, breaking down some of the math and basically how a lot of the leases, right? And also I saw this at work and I wanted to reply or like provide some value on the post and engage, but it's just hard because I'm so busy at work. So I'm just checking things fast now, right? And just really trying to grind before and after work on what I'm doing and just put my life in buckets, balance like Tetron, work, Tetron, and then chill. You know what I mean? So having said that, though, there's a lot of leases that expire at the end of 2023 and throughout 2023. So I do think it's possible they close some underperforming stores, just the nature of the economy. It's not doing that well, I would say, as a whole, generally speaking, very loosely. But regardless, I think there's going to be underperforming stores to identify through having the proper retail technology in place and just the proper analytics to understand that, hey, if we close a store, the average person visiting the store is going to go to these few stores around it. And on top of it, ideally, you focus more on e-commerce. I mean, I think you have to be very careful with that because it could be a slippery slope if you start closing too many stores. So you don't want to just aggressively do that. But my point being, they're going to make the decision based upon, is it going to improve margins? Like, is this getting us to our goal of profitability in the long term? So that's something we may see that could lower SG&A even further, potentially, right? Stuff like it, just more cost cutting. You still have the immutable X liability that is being recognized in SG&A throughout since the start of 2022, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I believe it's from 2022 to the end of 2023. So SG&A, like I've went over this a little bit in the past, and this is something else I want to write on, right? Which I should add a sticky note here of my miscellaneous stuff. Which reminds me, German stores closed earlier this year. Ireland stores have closed down, so we're seeing them continue to just evolve internationally, and maybe wind down stores more. Because if you look at the United States segment of revenue, it was actually profitable. If not profitable, it was very close to it. I can't remember exactly off the dome here. Whereas internationally, it's still kind of teetering on the edge. But as a whole, they have to make everything better and just operate profitably, right? Like that is the ultimate goal. But let's see. What did I want to break down? Leases breakdown. I just forgot what else I said. Margins. Yeah, just all right, whatever. We can circle back there. But the main thing, immutable X, that's what it was. Because there's still about another 20 million, maybe 18, 19. Again, I can't remember the exact numbers off the dome here. But there's about 15 to $20 million for each of the next 2 quarters that's going to be recognized in SG&A related to the token grants set up with Immutable in their partnership, right? And that's, again, something I have to really break down, and I feel like it'd be good for people to understand and just fully understand it myself, right? Like I get it, but I always think of it as like, unless I can just cleanly say it right now, like out my mouth, just off the dome, like then I don't truly know it, right? Like I don't truly have the subject mastered. So maybe it's a future Twitter thread. Mutable X expense, but basically my point being, SG&A is going to be even lower in 2024. I truly believe that, and I don't think it's just as a result of this. This is just part of it, but just continuing to just slim things down and operate efficiently. And I can even tell you just from my job now, right, as I'm taking on more responsibility, it's not that I'm replacing another role. It's like as the company's scaling, they're giving me more responsibility, something else they think I'm capable, at least I hope they think I'm capable of taking care of, right? Rather than hiring a whole new person for it, because they'd rather, you know, I see it as like they'd rather, and how I've just seen them operate in terms of management, it seems like my company would rather, continue to give growth opportunities to those that are really pushing for it and in line with the company culture. Like company culture is huge. I think that's really for any business. And I think GameStop's really building that with, the changes they've undergone. And having said all that, the SG&A decrease in terms of percentage of total sales is very significant for the same quarter of last year versus this quarter. So only 27.7% versus 34.1% of last year. So it went from 387.5 million to 322.5. So I think Q2 2024, we're going to see this number under 300. I'm honestly going to say that. I'll write that here. Sorry about all the dots. That's going to get annoying. Q prediction. Make this one green. Prediction. SG&A is below 300 million in Q2 2023. Oh, 2024. And that would just pretty much be from Immutable alone. And just a little bit more cost-cutting efforts. I think, we could see 290, maybe 280. I don't know. It's way too soon to predict that, right? But I'll just put the date on here. I did say this just for record-keeping purposes, because again, trying to get better record-keeping, keeping things organized. So just throwing that out there. But I really do think SG&A will be lower versus last year. And speaking of SG&A, and speaking of visuals, I had it open, but I don't know where it went. Perfect. All right, got a nooner tonight. Slaps. So we got this little visual here, right? And I'm gonna write more on this. And whoa, chill. Okay. So this is GameStop's SG&A by quarter for each of the last 5 years. And at a glance, you might go, okay, well, I don't really see the improvement. What the heck's the point of this? But allow me to explain. But I'm gonna hit the chat real quick. Did you watch Dumb Money? Still waiting here in Canada. I haven't, Ryan. I haven't. Honestly, I'm not a big moviegoer, and a lot of the theaters near me are AMC, which just discourages me even more, to be honest with you. But I think I will at some point. It's just one of those, like, if the opportunity arises. I mean, I'm definitely going to see it when it comes out, regardless, but I feel like I kind of have to go in theater and do a reaction video, maybe, but we'll see. We'll see. He's a grifter. It seems like it. Hold on. I just realized chat's not all messages. Don't want to miss anything. It's over. It's over. Please just forget GME, please. Laugh my ass off. Damn. Yeah, I kind of felt like that'd probably be the narrative, especially the way they're like tweeting constantly to AMC. Ooh, excuse me. And Adam Aaron's like tweeting about it crazy. Like, just very suspicious to me. With billions on the line, they will literally eat their own poop if it means getting people to stop buying. It could mean that, Devin. It could mean. They all say the same thing, dying. Business model, it's only a matter of time. Yeah, well, I say you're right. It is only a matter of time. But I think it's not the matter of time or the way they believe it'll play out. You think GameStop could be doing a lot better business-wise if it wasn't for mainstream media forcing a negative sentiment? That's a good point, Ryan. I would say, maybe ever so slightly, but at the same time, the hatred from one side just like really built up the love and passion, I think, of individuals like myself and probably like yourself, where you're like, okay, I love shopping GameStop. I'm going to shop there anytime I can. So I feel like, it's kind of not exactly a factor, because then you have a lot of people who love the company so much more because of this unique story going on. But at the same time, the sentiment of the public is, just the regular average consumer, not necessarily like an investor. So it's probably not helping. I definitely wouldn't say it's helping, but I don't think it's hurting them super bad, but it could be like ever so slightly. I don't know why this wants to do this here. So let's jump in. So GameStop selling and general administrative costs. So I put in dollars and percentages, right? And whoop, okay, make this light up nicely, hopefully. Well, actually, that was good enough. Damn it. All right, let's just jump in. So, and I want to, what I'm saying, I'm generally going to write upcoming, so it's kind of a sneak peek. But really, I wanted to start it back in 2019 just to highlight how it kind of seems like the original management team was really driving the company into the ground, right? When you look at this extremely high spending for overhead costs of 453 million, 481 million, 475, and then 511. Then you have the year of the Roni Rona and 386.5. It's a very high percentage of sales, but I think as a whole, just cost cut because there's just less happening. It was just such a weird time. But even then, it was still a very high percentage of sales. And then here's where you have Ryan Cohen's involvement. So he starts acquiring in these 2 quarters, right? And everything obviously happens January 2021, and this is really when his like tenure begins, right? Or whatever they, right? Tenure, that's the word. Yeah. Where he's really, running the show as chairman of the board. And now he's CEO here as well, or executive chairman, CEO, or basically they don't have a CEO, and he's pretty much running things from within. And then also they have general manager Robinson running things from within. But looking at all that, this is pre Ryan Cohen and then post. And 2019 really highlights to me the high spending that was taking place. And, we can see like this number of 37.5% of total revenue. We haven't seen that since, right? And something I want to quickly highlight that 27.7 and 27.9% for this year is the lowest for these same quarters. And also, I think Q3, we're also going to see, I have to fully look at it, but maybe the 20-ish something percent, like higher 20s, kind of like this, if the trend continues. But in 2021, he took over, had to really kind of see things as they were. And then Q3, Q4, and even into Q1, I feel like there was a lot of spending on adjusting, a lot of store closures going down, a lot of store closures taking place, a lot of employees being let go, just really adjusting the business, right? So costs associated with the turnaround, I think we're falling in SG&A a lot, and that's why you saw it go up into 2020, late 2021, and then especially into 2022 in the beginning part. But then really moving into the back half of 2022, I think we start to see the decrease. So if you look at 21 versus 22, percentage wise, it's about the same. Nominally, it decreased. Same with Q4, but percentage wise, it did decrease pretty significantly. So, really, now 2023 is to me where I see them at like, okay, we've been taking all of this action and doing all these different things. And now we're really just making sure we're operating efficiently. Because if you look at dollar wise, 345.7 million is the lowest number of all these previous 4 years, right? And then now 322.5 million is even lower than that. So it'd be really, really nice if we trend even lower in Q3. If we get close to 300 million, 310, I mean, that might be too optimistic, but really just seeing it percentage wise in this 27% range would be really nice because if you look previously, Q3 is always floated in the 33% range, give or take a couple percents. And having that would be a significant difference and probably put them at profitability. And if I'm not mistaken, some European land sales are going to be recognized in this upcoming quarter, which will slightly improve revenue and slightly improve net income. So that might get them over the hump and might also just help with this number a little bit. Not that that's like exactly what they should be going on. But then Q4, I think we're going to see a number like this, or just, again, relatively low. I think, but below 20% of total sales. And I personally believe the year total will be even lower than 2020. And again, 2020 was a time where a lot of the business like wasn't even operating for periods of time. I mean, it'd have to look at exactly what they were doing in terms of furloughing employees and just it was such a crazy time, right? So that's why I wanted to go back prior to 2020 and just see one full year under the old management team, completely pre Ryan Cohen, and you see the difference, right? And again, it's going to take more time. And everything I'm saying, I want to write this out a little bit cleaner, just kind of highlighting it. But I think these next couple quarters, we're going to see really low SG&A percentage wise, and then also dollar wise, it's going to be lower. And they're going to just keep focusing on margins. Like that's where I'm going with all this. I see them really focusing on margins in launching that 2 terabyte hard drive and just continuing to focus on collectibles and just improving the business, right? Like just doing the little things right. I really think they're going to get there. And the biggest thing, of course, is always going to be product selection. And I think in putting a lot of things on clearance or promoting clearance a lot, especially through GameStop Pro, part of what they're doing is trying to get rid of a lot of the old inventory and not get stuck with just a lot of inventory on hand. Just, keep discounting, discounting, discounting till you can get it out. And then as you're acquiring new inventory, you're generally focused on higher margin items. I mean, obviously, people say like, "Oh, the core business is games and discs, right? And consoles, and it's all going away." That's not the only thing they're selling, right? That's just part of what they do. And then when you go in to buy a game, and people still like the disc because it's still just a part of things, not completely going away. And then on top of it, you're there, like, oh yeah, maybe I'll grab this. Oh, that's pretty cool. Let me grab that. And same type of idea online. And then as they continue to evolve online, and something I'd really like to see with them is doing Web3 and aligning it to their e-commerce in some way and just really vertically aligning things and driving people to go in store. They actually get something for visiting a store, something they can use online on GameStop Player or some kind of coupon or promotion, whatever it may be, and then vice versa. If you're in a store, hey, go online, try this. If you scan this here, like it'll be so easy. You can hop on like that when you get home. So all of these different things, I think are going to help them improve margins, and there might be a trick up their sleeve that we don't even know yet, right? Because the nature of GameStop is to just move in silence and just execute, right? That's how they've done things since Ryan Cohen's been involved, and I think they'll continue to do it that way. And if we are really entering a recession, and just today, I don't know if you saw, the Fed pretty much said, like, yeah, we're not raising rates, but we expect to raise them one more time at the end of 2023. It's late September 2023, so that means there's another rate hike coming relatively soon. And then they also said, like, yeah, we pretty much will probably hold rates throughout 2024 and into early 2025, potentially, right? And I'm saying this very loosely. I very quickly looked at everything, so please do more research on what happened with the Fed today for your own knowledge. And I'm just speaking about it very quickly, very briefly, right? Like I just very briefly looked at it myself. But the point being, previously they said, oh, well, we're going to be cutting rates in 2024. It's the soft landing, blah, blah, blah. But if you're GameStop, not that that's a great thing for the consumer and not that inflation's good for the fact that they have a lot of cash. It's the idea that, well, if the market they're in is not giving them an opportunity to make a move, at least they can continue to accumulate more and more interest on their cash. And if they're turning a profit, their cash pile will continue to grow and their opportunities will continue to grow. And that's where I was kind of writing about here. Share repurchases, dividends, acquisitions, improving the core business, and expansion to new segments of business. So, dividends, I think that's something once you're absolutely rocking and rolling, and it just really incentivizes people to continue to hold and just like the stock for the long term, especially if they've been in it in a long time. I think share repurchases is something we start to see when they become close to S&P 500 eligible and just again consistently profitable because they can use the cash. Because if there's nothing good to invest in, right, you can invest in yourself. And if the share price is still this low, it's ridiculous, right? Because over the 20% of the market cap right now alone is represented in cash equivalents, cash, marketable securities, which there's just not a lot of their names out there, right? Like that or like that. So, And also after this, I'm going to quickly go through a lot of the replies because, again, I wrote this, I posted in the morning. I'm at work and I'm like, wow, I can't even believe how good this is doing. But like, I don't have time to reply to everybody. And, I try to reply to some at night, and then also just a lot. And then all of the debates too from underneath. I'm like, damn, I missed like a whole ass debate here and I have to read it back. But we'll go through it all here. But, again, they have to continue to improve. But it kind of defeats the narrative of, oh yeah, GameStop's going bankrupt. They're gonna need debt. They're gonna take on high interest debt in this high interest environment, and they're not. They're really not. Why on earth would they? If you just look at their balance sheet and just look at it, it's like a lot of moving parts, but it really feels like it's coming together. And I understand how the average individual that's not closely following the company doesn't see it that way. I don't really see it coming together, but from somebody who's been looking at things in depth for a long time, and I think that's most individual investors that are still involved in GameStop at this point. They're not just riding the wave. They're seeing like a unique story, and that the average person and the market, right, is not recognizing what's truly happening. All these moving parts taking place. They're just focused on, oh, it could go bankrupt. Games are dying, right? So, and that was like funny enough. That was Roaring Kitty's like whole thing in getting involved, and he's like, this is a deep value play. The market is overpricing, over factoring in the idea of the company going bankrupt due to the decline in disc sales and just everything moving online. Whereas at that time, he was like, well, there's a console cycle coming up. That's an extremely bullish thing for companies such as GameStop historically. Not that we're in a console cycle right now, but it's the same idea of like the market's once again pricing the idea, and the average person is just accepting, oh, well, if everything's going digital, GameStop must be done, right? But if you really look at what's going on, I don't think so. I really don't think so, right? And yeah, that's all there is there. Let's hit the chat real quick, and then we'll go through the replies real quick. That should be pretty fun. Let's go, GME for life, motherfuckers. Meagle, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Wendy, hope you're doing well. Thanks for being here. Made it. Joseph Prendergast, let's go. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. What motivates you to keep streaming GME content, bro? Ryan, that's a great question. Honestly, I'll keep it real with you guys. Sometimes there's days I don't want to stream, but like, oh, I don't feel like it. And Monday I actually had stuff going on, so I was not just like dismissing the stream. But I think it's just a unique story that's not being told by a lot of people, right? Like I think Rance does a great job. I think Richard Newton puts out some good stuff. I hope Lightning Lit Warrior's doing well. I know he's been going through some life stuff. Someone was saying. I think Badass Trader had mentioned that because he's kind of just not been putting anything out. He was even putting gaming stuff out prior. So shout out to him. Hope he's doing well. And then there's some people tweeting about it, and again, I've said this in like my video I posted the other day, which if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I'm not trying to be anybody special. Like I'm not a financial guru. Like I just see it as like something you could talk on it. Like I just feel like I can talk on it, and like I just really see it, and I'm like, why not talk about it? It's something unique. It's something people are interested in, and there's other things I want to talk about, but you're never gonna catch me being like, this is the next big stock. This is the next big thing. To me, it's like an investment journey, and it's like just such a unique story to talk about. And you don't really have that many people or just platforms, right? Like if you want to think of Tetron as like a platform, whatever, that are actually reporting on what's really happening here. And when it does, in my personal opinion, things unfold however they unfold, right? And we talk, and someone said before in the chat, there'll be future movies. Not that I need to be in the future movies. My point being, there'll need to be people that's like, who was actually talking about this before it really happened, when everybody had thought it was over. And like, they're going to find guys like me. They're going to find Morantz. They're going to find some people on Twitter that have been talking about it, right? Stuff like that. So that's kind of what motivates me. I'm like, it's just such a unique story to talk on. And also like, very importantly, I have to add this too. Like you guys are all awesome. Like you're awesome, Ryan, Fresh Maker, Wendy, Meagle, Joe, Calvin. All of you guys are like coming here consistently. Like that's pretty motivating in itself and awesome. And yeah, I mean, and anybody knows me, I'm a big talker. Like I just yap, 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 right? So when I like talking about something, I just talk, talk, talk. So I was like, you know what? Why not just do streaming? But yeah, that's why I'm here. So, and that's also something that's really cool about GameStop to me, is everybody's on their own unique journey and they just like the stock. And it's this idea pushed by the mainstream media of, oh, everybody's just piling in. They're all just still trying to get back at the good old short sellers, right? And they're just a cult and this and that. And it's not that. Like, it's really not. And they can say it's that all they want. And I truly know it's not. Because it's individuals who like a stock and are all on their own path and in their own way. And, everybody's doing their own thing. But everybody just sees this one thing as like, this is it. This is something that's big, right? And that's just how I see it. That's just how I see it. I hope that makes sense. But definitely my favorite GME YouTuber. Appreciate that, Joe. Appreciate that. Thank you. Maybe severance packages they had to pay people. Let's go explain some of the highest GMA. What you think? Yeah, Calvin. I think you're absolutely right. I think part of that, and yeah, I just realized I'm getting behind in the chat now because I was yapping forever, but we're chilling. So yeah, I think a lot of the severance, maybe it was kind of taking place in here in 22, but there's definitely still some in 23, for some of these European stores that are being wound down. Because also keep in mind, Q2 was reported for everything as of the end of July 2023. We're already almost at the end of September, so all of August has passed, all of September. There's really only 1 month and 1 week left already for Q3, which is kind of crazy to think about. But we won't actually get a report until December, and that'll be the Q3 report. So everything kind of lags. And in terms of the reporting, that's just the nature of the market and finance, whatever. But my point is, there might be still some severance packages that are being accounted for at SG&A up here. And this is even with the numbers looking like they're improving, right? So just something to kind of have as food for thought. GME will be the new AMC, attention wise, when these next 2 quarters are profitable and everyone and their grandma buys in my opinion. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Meagle. I don't think I see what you're saying attention wise, like people are more interested in it, whereas like AMC's like but it's like you gotta be very careful comparing those two. You know what I mean? Because there's some goofy things, to put it one way, going on with AMC. What will be the next GME? CCG ran from 11 to 200 on Monday. There's short-term opportunities that are bigger than what GME did. NASCAR all out. Thanks for being here. You're absolutely right. There's always going to be short-term opportunities, right? And I'm sure there's been bigger moves in shorter periods of time than GameStop. I mean, not many, right? It was truly a unique situation. But I'm personally not looking for a trade, right? I'm not looking for the next big quick thing. And I think the issue is a lot of people start chasing that, and then all of a sudden they're involved in something like Bed Bath and Beyond, following a bozo like PP Seeds, and putting their money in week after week after week, their hard-earned money on this like pipe dream, right? And now the stock's about to be literally delisted completely. And even though it went from BBY to BBYQ, and now it's about to go poof. So that's why I personally focus on the long term. But there's absolutely money to be made, right? And there's absolutely trades that can be made. And if you're trading Bed Bath in any way, or trading any other of the quote unquote meme stocks, that's fine. I think that's totally fine. But like I think the problem is that a lot of people are investing and expecting long term the same way I believe GameStop has a long-term opportunity. I think they start seeing that with these other names. Whereas with the other names, I really see it as trading opportunities. Of course, that's just my opinion, but I think that's the difference there. I missed it. Why did Dearest numbers drop a huge amount? Danzo, thanks for being here. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. But apparently, it's partly, people say like Mainstar Trust. I don't know. Everything's have gotten weird with DRS as of late. Not gonna lie, I haven't fully been able to wrap my head around it. But part of it is Mainstar Trust, self-directed IRA custodian, previously allowed people to, like, if you had shares in Fidelity, right? You would transfer from Fidelity to Mainstar, and then Mainstar would allow you to directly register your shares, and your shares would be held in ComputerShare in an account called Mainstar Trust FBO Tetron 12345, if that was my account number, for example. And then Mainstar in Q2 was like randomly like, sorry, we're deregistering all the shares. ComputerShare is making us, or something weird. And with self-directed IRAs, I'm pretty familiar with them. So you gotta really know what you're doing, and the custodians, like, with that, technically Mainstar owns those shares and they're for your benefit, right? Just the same way when you're in a broker, the shares are in Seed & Co, Fidelity, Tetron. That's essentially the titling on there. And then when I sell it and it goes to, John at a client at Charles Schwab, Seed and Co. The name never has to change. It just changes to Charles Schwab, John, and you just shoot it through the ACAT system because the ACAT system is run by the NSCC, which is an entity of the DTC. So the ACAT system allows them to just quickly move things like that, which is just crazy that that's how it works. And they're able to do that because everything's in the name of Seed and Co., the DTC representative. The end of the movie was the funniest. I was talking about dumb money. Gotta see it. Yeah, I know September. I gotta see it. You're right. I shouldn't wait for it to come out. That'd be like pretty silly. And good to see you, September. Thanks for popping in. I see you've been consistent on the channel recently. I appreciate that. So yeah, also it's a comedy too. So this one, has big names in it. You got Pete Davidson, you got Seth Rogen, a couple others that are gonna make it funny, right? On top of it, so I feel like I gotta see it. I don't know. Why wait for it to come out, right? Just as long as I don't go to AMC, I'm good. But should I buy more? James Bond, thanks for being here. Is this the real James Bond? But that's a decision you have to make for yourself, right? I don't give financial advice. I think everybody has to do what's best for them as an individual. And I will take this moment to say, as much as you may love GameStop or any other stock out there, or any other particular investment, never ever just dump your money in and just go, oh my gosh, I got it all now. I have to put it every dollar I have right now, right now, right now, right? When I was younger and just dabbling in investing and very fortunate enough that, I didn't have real money because I was in high school and early college. So just, getting by, right? Like any other kid. So I was investing what I could. But there's times like, I feel like I have to as soon as I get paid, I have to get some money in this particular thing. It's the next big play, right? And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about 2019, stuff like that. I used to chase the next big play. I really did. I tried Forex. I tried every option strategy in the book you can imagine. Any get rich quick thing you think is out there, I probably was trying it in high school, and it really stayed to like 2019, 2020. Not really even 2020. 2020, I tried to like trade because I was at home a lot, and I don't know. But the point is, I've tried a lot of different things, right? And I was very fortunate, and it didn't work out, right? Any of the things, the Forex, cryptocurrency trading, all kinds of like little things, because I never had legitimate money, like legitimate amounts of money. So thankfully, the losses didn't hurt too bad. Like, and I learned very, very valuable lessons now that I actually make like what I would call legitimate money compared to just my cashier's job at that time and like my summer jobs, right? My odd jobs where I'm just making a few bucks here and there. When I was getting that money, I was like, oh, I have to get in the market. I have to get in the market, right? But now that I see things in a new light and just in a different way as I've matured and become older. And by the way, I'm only 23, so I still have a lot more to learn. Like, I understand that. Like, there's so much more for me to learn and understand over time. But I was able to see like, okay, it's trading versus investing. Like, it's two different things. And wait, what was it? Yeah, I totally lost my train of thought. The original question was just, should I buy more? But the point is, don't just rush into things, right? Like, don't feel like I have to get in right now, because I feel like anytime I previously thought that, it almost never, ever, ever worked out. There was never a time really where I can remember being like, thank God I quickly got into that. Otherwise, I would never made that quick buck, right? Like, and you have this natural like feeling, like it's a human tendency of like, it's the thing, it's gotta happen, right? It's gotta happen now. And I feel like the narratives of the media push with the next big play, right? Kind of capitalize on that. So just really, really try and always, just I think you should do this in general, right? Even if you're not investing in stocks, like personal finance skills, get a high yield savings account, make sure you're earning interest on your capital. Really account for, okay, well, how much am I going to try and save every week, right? Out of each paycheck. And then that money I am saving, while I seek out a good investment opportunity that I take a lot of time to research before I'm absolutely certain I want to put money in there, let me go ahead and just earn some cash on a high yield savings, right? Like an Ally account, a Marcus account, right? Like any of the high yield savings accounts, just so you might as well, because you're looking for the opportunity anyway. So just, making good decisions for yourself as an individual. And also that's allowed me to feel so incredibly comfortable holding GameStop because I'm not stressed. I see where the company's going long term. I see the actions they're taking. I see the strength of the balance sheet, and I'm just going to let it ride, right? And I'm just going to accumulate shares here and there as I continue to, earn my living and just move up in the world. I'll just keep accumulating shares as long as the prices is low, right? But I don't lose sleep at night. Like, oh my God, did I put too much in? Oh my God, what if it doesn't work out? Or, oh my God, this, oh my God, that, because I'm like, I know myself, like, I know where I'm at. And like, that is something like it took me a long time to figure out. And again, I have so much more to learn. Let me be very clear. Like, I'm a young individual. There's still like the mountain is like sky high still relative to where I am. So, like just going through that though at a young age, like wow, like this is such valuable experience. And people who don't, you know, try and invest or get involved in money related things, that's how you hear stories about how they lose, the entire family's savings account because they feel like they had to make a move and they maybe fell for like Bed Bath and like that's where the whole like narrative is negative. And I don't know, I'm going on a complete tangent now. But yeah, so just know thyself and really just always do what's best for you. And never ever get too caught up in things, and when you need a break, also just relax. And that's why trading's stressful and you have to like manage your stress and like you're in the game, right? And you got to like really really focus. Whereas like when you're investing, if you're just long-term holder, you can okay, well, I don't have time to think about stocks this month, right? I'm about to move right to a new house, or I'm about to get married, I'm about to have a child, whatever is going on in life. I have an elderly parent I got to take care, whatever it may be. Like if you're invested, it's so much easier to not like have to worry about it in that time because you have this long-term perspective and you have a long-term thesis, so you don't have to get caught up in, well, what if I miss that short-term thing type of deal. And in the case of GameStop, if you're just a Zen holder, right? And then you don't have time to be keeping up with everything because maybe you have any of those things that are listed going on or just anything in general. And then you just have an awesome channel called Tetron Invest where you come, hey, what's been going on with GameStop? Let me kind of catch up and just check out some of his stuff, right? You can do that. So, yeah, but I hope that makes sense. Round Code and the apes are unstoppable. Devin, I think it's truly a unique journey. Truly a unique journey. If you look at the combination of the inverted yield curve and the Fed pausing the Fed fund rate, historically we should be hitting a recession between December 23 and June 24. NASCAR all out? It could be the case. I mean, I've low key thought for a while like the market's going to start declining again, but then I kind of realized like it's just long priced in the market rate hikes. And now that it's like, hey, the market's been like of the understanding that this was it for the Fed rate hikes, and now they're about to raise again and not actually start really cutting. You know what I mean? It's then the market is now uncertain, and I feel like, again, not that I have a multitude of decades in the stock market, but anytime I've seen where the market starts to have uncertainty, like markets as a whole, that's really where we start to see recession. And yeah, inverted yield curve, like things you mentioned, are absolute recession indicators historically. The Fed funds rate, like all these different things. Yeah, we'll see what happens, right? I don't know, because I've never truly lived through a major crash. Like I lived through 2020, but that was so weird. Like it was just like nobody knew what the heck was going on. I felt like the whole world was ending. Then the whole world was rallying in terms of the economy. It's such a weird thing. But I never really, witnessed 2008 because in 2008 I was literally 8 years old. I just saw gas prices going up, and I'm like, "Mommy, why are the prices so high on everything now? I don't understand." You know what I mean? Like, so it'll be a new unique experience for me. You're our CPA. September, I appreciate that, but no, not officially a CPA. But maybe one day I'll get some kind of license or something, or I think about it. But I don't know. I did not like school. I don't want to go back and have to take tests but if it means bettering my career one day and just bettering my knowledge base, maybe. But I also feel like you could really learn anything on the internet these days. If you really, really just commit yourself, you can truly learn anything online, and for the most part free. Not always like free, right? It's not always that just black and white, like super simple, but there's so much you can learn on the internet just by really really like digging and combing through information and constantly researching something and researching again. And well, what does this word mean and this definition? And then, well, what does this set of things mean, right? Or oh, well, what is this? I've never even heard of this. If you really just commit yourself and organize yourself, I truly think there's so much you can learn on the internet just by like committing yourself. Saw a great video explaining the lag effect in the Fed funds rate. Oh, NASCAR, I'll have to look for that. If you want, you could send me a DM of it on Twitter. I'll try and check it out. No, let's start a sex cult, buy more shares, and then make love. Devin, that's all you, man. That's all you. I'm gonna pass on that one. Uh, how much did you miss us? September. I always miss you guys. I always miss you guys. You guys are all awesome for real. Are your DRS purely to own the shares under your name, or do you think it has a big impact on the stock? So Ryan, initially, I thought I was like, it's gonna have this major impact if everyone's individually moving all their shares, and now I more so look at it as, which I still think it is very impactful to see 25% of all shares outstanding directly registered. Like, that is just truly unprecedented. That alone is remarkable. But for me personally, it's more about having it registered in my own individual name because I understand how the system works. Like, I understand what the DTC is, and I see what happened in January 2021 on that infamous day where the buy button just across all brokers all of a sudden was like, sorry, you can't buy any more shares. Like, that is just unprecedented, right? And what history tells me, generally speaking, again, is if it happened once before, you don't think it could happen again. So that's why I personally want shares directly registered in my name. And I had a Nordstrom share. Like, I was trying to test with the book versus plan. Like, I bought one share and 1 point something shares of Nordstrom on computer share, direct purchase. And then I did a transfer, right? I bought one share on Fidelity of Nordstrom, transferred it in, and that one was book and then plan. And then I was messaging Fidelity, and I was like, how can the book shares be reinvested? Or not Fidelity, the computer share. And I was trying to talk to representatives through messaging and like one phone call. I was like, how can dividends be reinvested if the shares are booked? I don't understand. They're like, it's in the same account. And if you look at book and plan in your computer share, it has the same account number. It's all this like, oh yeah, it's technically separate. Okay. I'll let you think what you want about that, right? Because because Nordstrom pays a dividend, right? And dividends are being reinvested into more fractional shares. How can the book shares dividends be reinvested into a fractional if book shares can only pay the dividend itself? That's what made me like, wow. And then I tested, because also I'm like, in the future, for the long, long term, I want to know what the selling process is like on computer share. And I set it up. They just sent me a check. Came relatively quick. But you could also do a wire. I didn't do a wire because it's such a small transaction, and they do charge a selling fee. I think it was like $7 plus a delivery fee. I don't know. I don't know exactly, but it's relatively minimal. And for what I believe I'll be selling at in the future, and when I do go to sell, it's going to be dollar wise, much greater, where it's worth paying the wiring fee, so I don't have to get it delivered to my house. But even though it took time for the check to be delivered, when I actually went in to do the sell of Nordstrom stock, it executed, like, I could execute it as a market order, meaning I put in a market order the night before, the next day at the market open, it's sold, right? And it's sold at a certain price, but I actually just didn't receive the funds until I got the check in the mail. Or in the case of a wire, it would be sent within a couple business days. Like, a wire clears within 1 day. And there is usually a wire fee involved, but if you're dealing with a large amount of capital, that's just something you eat, right? That's just something you kind of just take it and give the bank their little cut, right? So be it. So I did it for those couple reasons, and just for, understanding of things and my further understanding of computer share. And to me, that's why I got rid of plan personally. I was like, I don't need fractionals. I just want to be pure book. I want to have my shares booked. Because there's the whole heat lamp theory, and just the idea that my dividend with Nordstrom stock, even though I had one book share and 1.1 something plan shares, both dividends were being reinvested. I'm like, how could that be if they're truly separate, right? So for me, it's personally about having it in my own name, and the idea that if the buy button was taken, like, if transacting, like, if the buy button was taken away, the sell button could be taken away, right? In a certain period of time, whatever it may be. But also, I still have shares in like my Fidelity IRA, and I say for those, so be it. I do want, I have some traditional. Most of my GameStop shares in terms of IRAs are in Roth because I want it to be post-tax for the long, long term when I retire, right? And then again, it's all about your own individual decision. If you feel great about shares in computer share, fantastic. You feel fine with shares in your broker, so be it. Good for you, right? It's all about the individual's decisions and like people being on their own path. Like, I really think that. And still 25% shares registered is truly remarkable. And also, It's the idea of like, okay, well, if that means short sellers want to keep shorting the stock, I say so be it. I think the company's going to execute, and it's just going to screw them more in the long term. The analogy is broken clock is right twice a day. Whoever predicts a crash is usually wrong, but this clock has been broken since 2008. I like that, Askar. That's a pretty good one. But yeah, it really seems like it has been. And when you realize how, like, this is what I say to people sometimes. I'm like just like family members or friends. I'm like, if you really knew how fragile this the financial system that we know and the system of money as we know it is, you'd be truly mind blown. Like if you truly knew all the things I do, or not just me, right? That a lot of other individuals watching this know as well. But I just mean when I just talk to like a friend who's like, "Oh, you do that YouTube? Like, how's that going?" Like, and the conversation starts like that. They're just supporting me or like, "Oh, I hope you're doing well, and whatnot." But they're not following like the exact details. They're not necessarily a GameStop investor. Like they're just interested because I'm interested. Like, "Oh, how you doing? Like, how's it going with that?" And then like, "Well, what's the whole thing?" Like, it's the market structure, just even without GameStop, take GameStop out of the picture and you look at what the market structure is, uh, it's like, holy shit, that's how this works. That's how this whole thing works. That's how this whole thing has been built and scaled up to be the largest economy in the entire world. It's truly remarkable when you just learn, like it really blows my mind to this day that I'm like, Seed and Co is the DTC representative so that they could use the ACAT system to constantly just move the same things back and forth all on the same name, just changing the beneficiary. Like, it's crazy. If you don't know what the national security, if you don't know the ACAT system, look up the ACAT system after this. I challenge you because I am about to wrap up the stream. I got to take care of some more stuff tonight. And I just want to keep it short, sweet, and strong. And I got to write this Twitter thread about SG&A, just kind of highlighting some of the stuff I was saying before. But look up the ACAT system and how it works, and you'll find it's going to say it's a run by the National Securities Clearing Corporation, which is an entity of the DTC, and the DTC's representative in the stock market is Seed and Co, the shadow organization nobody's ever heard of, right? But it truly owns every single thing in all of stocks, like generally, right? I mean, again, do all your own research on this. I'm just speaking generally, but you best start believing in recessions. We're in one. Yeah, Meagle, it kind of seems like it, honestly. Yeah, I mean, while the stock market's not officially in a recession, right? Technically, whatever. Oh well, when it's a 10% pullback, it means we're in a recession. Blah blah, whatever. Just looking at people my age having difficulty, like moving out of their house and getting their life started, and just more and more people just being able to spend less and just go like more struggle and more just everything snowballing. Yeah, it already kind of feels like we're in a recession, to be honest with you. That's a good point. And I'm John Lacey. Thanks for being here. Patience is key. I know you know that. Abe, cheers. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. Sucks though. Brokers can lend out your shares to short sellers. Exactly, Windfall. Exactly. And thank you for being here. It's like, how could that be when even you don't allow it? Like they can still low key do it behind your back and then do it for income. Pretty remarkable how that works. How much does the possibility of MOAS impact your position sizing on GME? Ryan Sung, I would say, it's one of those things for me at this point. I'm just accumulating. I don't really look for like a set position size. I just look at it as like, as long as I like the stock and the company, I don't see reason to stop accumulating shares. But I'm not massively accumulating shares, just a couple here, a couple there. I'll just keep accumulating as long as the price I believe to be fair. And then my definition of MOAS, or how I see MOAS now, mother of all short squeezes, is we don't truly know what it'll look like. And to me, MOAS could mean just a decade of extremely good performance for the company, of just unraveling short interest and just execution, share repurchases, and just thriving, right? So that's my definition of MOAS, just thriving forwards, and anything strange potentially going on underneath is just naturally going to bubble to the surface, whether it's all at once or over an elongated period of time. I don't care, because if the company's executing, whatever's underneath, it has to come to the surface at some point, right? And then the longer you try and keep it underneath the surface, the bigger the bubble becomes until it pops, right? And then maybe it is short term. So, yeah, that's kind of where my head's at as a whole. But yeah, I think I'll leave it here for today. That's pretty much all I had, and we'll see what they do. Acquisitions. When I put that on here, I want to say just quickly touching on that I feel like, and the stupid fly on the computer, it's annoying me. I think I just got him. Oh my god, I just whacked him. And damn, check out my sweatshirt too. Favorite company, gotta support them. Got me sweating and a little warm in here. But acquisitions, I think it has to be something where it really, really makes sense for them. And cash wise, it would have to be, I'd say 20% of their cash or less. So of this 1.1 billion, I think you have to look at 200 million or less spent on the acquisition because they don't want to take on debt to finance the acquisition in any way, and whatever it may be, and whatever it is, it would have to vertically integrate within their business, right? That's how I personally see it. It'd have to make a lot of sense for them, and the acquisition would have to be, of a relatively smaller size so that they can still maintain that strong balance sheet. And again, it'll have to fit within. But as they scale up, if they're repurchasing shares and they're just stacking their cash, or they're just stacking their cash further, if you have a bigger cash pile, 20% becomes a larger number. And you could still maintain a strong balance sheet and still execute acquisitions. And on top of it, if you're in a recession where other companies are struggling and the market's falling as a whole, valuations fall, so that it allows you to potentially get something undervalued and then rebrand it under GameStop or just make it a part of what GameStop does. Last thing I'll leave you with is what they talk about in the business priorities, which I do have here. Thought I did. Maybe not, but in the business priorities, they talk about expanding the product base as, yes, come on. It's the last thing I want to show. Okay. It's like, why is that coming up? But in the business priorities, you see, they say, rebuilding the company's decaying infrastructure and strengthening GameStop's value proposition, including investing in the company's enterprise systems, technology capabilities, store leaders, store associates, and product catalog and offerings. That's what they did originally, as getting things started. But now establishing an omnichannel retail experience, achieving profitability, and leveraging brand equity to support growth. Where is it? So yeah, did talk about margins, ensuring the company's cost structure is sustainable relative to revenue, taking steps to optimize our workforce to operate efficiently and nimbly, predominantly increasing the size of our addressable market by growing our product catalog across PC gaming, collectibles, consumer electronics, toys, augmented reality, virtual realities, and this line right here, and other categories that represent natural extensions of our business. So I think an acquisition would have to do with one of the things listed here, or as they put it, a natural extension of their business where it makes sense for them to be involved in it. They're not just going to go do a super quadra, super mega merger with Teddy and Bed Bath and Beyond, right? That's not a natural extension of the business. So to me, a natural extension of the business, I've seen Super League Gaming's a name that's been thrown around. Funko's a name that's been thrown around. Newegg's a name that's been thrown around. Just to name a few, right? And there's probably, if there is an acquisition out of nowhere, which I think it would be out of nowhere, not be like, oh, we're thinking about acquiring this. It'd just be, oh, GameStop acquires this company, right? Boom, out of nowhere, just hit the news, right? But if that happens, it's gonna, but I think most likely it'd be something probably a lot of people didn't see coming. Maybe the one-off person will have been able to predict it, but I think most of the time, and just how GameStop's operated, it'll be something we don't see coming. Potentially, right? Potentially. I don't know. Of course, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I think I'm actually going to leave it there this time. I always say I'm going to end it, and then I keep going and going. But today I'm actually going to leave it there. I'll just hit the chat one more time. What do you think about Marantz? Hidden Figures, I think Q3 and Q4 will be profitable. Abe, Marantz is the fucking man. That's what I have to say. But in terms of, yeah, what he mentions about, Q3 and Q4 potentially being profitable, I think it's very possible. And then Hidden Figures, I was kind of touching on it before, how SG&A, we're still seeing, the immutable X deal of the token grants being accounted for in each quarter within SG&A, and that won't be happening anymore in 2024. So that's like a hidden SG&A expense, so to speak. And that's why, like earlier on, I'd kind of theorized that we'll be below 300 million for the same quarter, Q2 2024, at this point next year. But we'll see. Great stream, bro. I firmly believe everyone on this live stream will be wealthy sooner or later. Me too, Ryan. And honestly, the coolest part is I think not even just from GameStop, necessarily. I think it's individuals who want to keep bettering themselves and like seek opportunities and whether it's better your career, just make better use of your capital on hand, or however you see your path to better yourself, financially, mentally, everything, right? Like just and vertically align yourself, right? Like better yourself financially, better yourself mentally, better yourself physically, vertically align yourself, right? Vertical alignment's a good thing. Bye, yes, sir. And yes, I hope so too, Freshmaker. Yeah. But I don't hope so, Freshmaker. I know so. Because again, I think it's individuals that are motivated. I mean, I don't know every single person on here super personally, so I can't say for sure, but if just outside of GameStop, you're constantly bettering yourself, you're constantly trying to learn more and just do more at your career, at whatever it is you do, I think that is really what it's about. Like your mindset's so important. And don't get me wrong, there's days where like I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do YouTube. Like this isn't the long term plan, or like, I don't know, like, is this really what I want to do, or is this, I don't know, anything, right? Or like even my job, or anything. Like you just like a human tendency to like think like, is this really? Should I? I don't know. Like you just start to have this little bit of doubt that creeps, right? And then it snowballs and snowballs and snowballs like throughout your brain, and you go, no, I'm doing this. Anything I do, I want to go all in and do my absolute best. And I feel like if you carry that mentality into whatever you do, because even if you're doing something, right, and you're not even sure it's 100% what you want to do, if you carry the right mentality into it, and this is what I'm learning, again, young individual, have a lot more to learn in the world, but if you carry the right mentality and you really like grind on stuff, and I'm trying to speak this into reality right now, so I just stick with things where if you just keep going with it, no matter, even if you do adjust in the future, if you carry that same mindset into whatever you adjust into, or however you adapt in whatever way, then that is the right mindset. And if you have the right mindset, like I truly believe you can do anything. Like that sounds corny and it's so cliche. Like if you believe in yourself, you truly can do anything. But I really, really think that. Like I really do. And part of the problem is like there are moments you're not going to believe in yourself, and then you have to recognize like, no, my brain is tricking me. I do believe in myself just in this particular moment because of this particular thing, or just you had a particularly bad day, whatever it may be, right? But all right, enough motivational talk. I'm gonna wrap it up here, but see you Monday after you watch Dumb Money wearing GameStop gear. September, I think you're right. I think I gotta. Maybe I'll just go with my girlfriend sometime this weekend or something. I'll make it happen. Quick little movie night. Totally zen, but it's a long journey, I must admit. Same, Freshmaker. Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point where it's like, probably not how it started. A lot of individuals didn't think it would be this type of situation, but what it's evolved into to me is just truly beautiful and like unique, even more so than how it started. Like where it is now is like just this whole other situation of just multiple layers, and this is going to die any minute. So let me wrap it up. But yeah, it's a journey that's not done yet, and again, longer than we expected potentially, but it's an epic one, that's for sure. There'll be more ups and more downs, but I'm all for it. You're our life coach. September. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I'm, coaching myself out here too. As I'm just speaking about things, I sometimes think back. I'm like, damn, well, I got to do what I was saying on that live stream the other day. Or like, I have to remember what I was saying sometimes, or I have to almost like, I don't go like watching it back as much. Of course, try to watch stuff back sometimes, but yeah, just try to, keep the right mindset. That really is number one. So hope everyone out there has a good night. Take care of yourselves and see you. Till next time.